Hello, this is Dr. David Borgas. I'm a local chiropractic doctor in South Lake Tahoe, California, and a Lake Tahoe historian. Today we're going to be talking about Tahoe natural wonders. We're going to go around Lake Tahoe looking at the different wonders and photographs of some of the most fantastic sights that we can see in Lake Tahoe. The trip around Lake Tahoe is described in most of the Tahoe history books, primarily as seen by a Captain Pomine, the pilot of the steamer Tahoe. He went around Lake Tahoe for many years, and after he was going around Lake Tahoe for quite a while, he started to see different natural wonders, recorded them in a book, and I have them photographed for our viewing audience. I just wanted to locate everybody. This is a picture of Lake Tahoe, and the bottom part is where Camp Richardson is. And you can see the picture going around Lake Tahoe, starting at the Tahoe Tavern, going on the west shore of Lake Tahoe, down through Homewood, down through Mona Villa, Rubicon Point, down past and through Emerald Bay, in and out of Emerald Bay, coming close to Tlac, where Lucky Baldwin's hotel is, and to Camp Rich, and go down to Bijou, to State Line, and up to Glenbrook, and then back up to Tahoe Vista, the North Shore, and ending up in the Tahoe Tavern. Usually taking about 8 hours. They would be bringing supplies and food and passengers on the steamer Tahoe. They'd be bringing the mail to help everybody stay in touch as they got the supplies coming from the Transcontinental Railroad in Truckee and going down by train to the Tahoe Tavern. And the train would go out to the quarter-mile pier where the steamer Tahoe would be, or they could stay there at that place and they would go to the Tlac Hotel. So let's get started. The steamer Tahoe was en route from 1896 and finally finished in 1934, and was its final route. It wasn't scuttled until 1940, August 24th, right in front of Glenbrook, and you can still see it today underneath the water. It's about 300 feet, so it's pretty deep, but they have some deep diving cameras that shows it's still there. Now, Tahoe is the jewel between the silver and golden states. Of course, Nevada is the silver state, California is the golden state, and it's perfectly set in the high Sierras, which is defined as snow-capped range. Now, seeing some of these Tahoe wonders, you have to use your imagination a little bit. And one of my favorite books is magazines is Highlights, and in the Highlights magazine you can always find the hidden pictures. And sometimes you're going to have to use your imagination. Sometimes you're going to have to use your intuitive capacity, as they call it in psychology, to see things within things. So the hidden pictures, and many people in the audience had seen this magazine, and you try to find a fork or a banana or a comb or a toothbrush, and they're all in this picture right here, and I highlighted them for you. There's a canoe right down there. There's a comb, as you can see in the picture, and these things come out as you focus. There's some eyeglasses, there's golf clubs as you look closer and closer, and as you spend a little time with it, you finally get to see all of the different things, the hammers and the different things that are in the picture. So picture within a picture. Now, the reason I started my presentation this way is because sometimes the natural wonders are a little bit difficult to see. It's sort of like this picture here. Is this a rabbit or is this a duck? Well, the duck is looking left, but the rabbit is looking right. Same picture. So you have to use your intuitive capacity to see some of these natural wonders. Here's another picture. Is the man playing a horn, or is it a woman's silhouette? If you study the picture long enough, you can see both. And then finally, can you see the fetus in this picture with the tree? And it's a picture that looks quite similar to Lake Tahoe. And if I highlight it for you there, that's what the picture of the fetus looks like. So there's something hidden in a lot of the things that we're going to see. Like this one here. This is called Barker's Peak. We just left, in your imagination, we have to get on the steamer Tahoe. We're on Lake Tahoe right now. We're going south on the west shore, just left the Tahoe Tavern. And the first thing that's pointed out is Barker Peak. It's also known as Rabbit Rock. And if we do a close-up, it's known as Grizzly Bear Peak. But if you look at that portion of the picture, you can see a rabbit running toward the left side of the screen. But here's a close-up picture. And some people think that looks like a rabbit running, and some people think it just looks like a rock. But this one's named, obviously, it's called Twin Peaks, also known as Matterhorn, Little Matterhorn. We see the picture, just two peaks looks like one another. And you can see a watercraft going across Lake Tahoe. And there's a close-up to the Little Matterhorn. That was the second thing that Captain Pomine would point out as he was going around the lake. This one here is a difficult one to see for a lot of people. It's called Napoleon's Hat. You have to think that that's where it is, and you have to think Napoleon's hat looks something like that drawing that we just put up there. As they continue down toward the south shore, there's a picture of Napoleon's hat as we leave. That's what it looks like without the assistance of the PowerPoint. And there you go. This one here is called Frog Rock. Here's a picture of what Frog Rock looks like in a drawing. And if you use your imagination, if you use your intuitive capacity, you might be able to see the picture of the frog within the rock. And the next one down is Baby Chick Rock, and I'll put a picture right next to it if you can see that rock. It's about 100 yards south of Frog Rock, right around Rubicon Point. And then this here, natural wonder, is called 4 Loaves of Bread. And they're just granite rocks that are little pillars. But if you look at rye and wheat and white and French bread, maybe you can see 4 loaves of bread in that picture. As you go into D.L. Bliss State Park, you can see the natural wonder called Balancing Rock. And I put my family underneath it and took a picture of it, and that you might think it's dangerous, but it actually is very, 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 very safe to do that. And actually, this particular natural wonder in Lake Tahoe is in the Saga of Tahoe. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records. And this natural wonder, as you continue around Rubicon Point in a boat, you can see the gladiator. And the way you can see the gladiator is it has a dark face on the rock. And I'll highlight it for you there. Off to the left of the drawing is the gladiator. And you can tell it's the gladiator because of the rock belt. You can see the rock belt here on this drawing, and you can see the rock belt there. As you look in the history books, that's the indicator that you found the gladiator. Also, we have the Old King Cole picture in the center of this picture, and it's just a crown, a dark crown on top of the base. Now that looks like Old King Cole to you. Remember, using your intuitive capacity, that's what that rock formation is like. And a little bit to the side of Old King Cole and the gladiator to the left is Stone Seal. And this one you really have to use your imagination. You have to pretend that the seal has a ball on it, and that's Stone Seal. Now if you look at the history books, the way you can tell is the Stone Seal is you see the Stone Seal is on the left and the gladiator is on the right, and they have this stream that goes between the two of them. That's how you can identify that if you read the history books. And there's Stone Seal. So this one picture shows all three. Can you see the Gladiator? Can you see Old King Cole? And can you see the Stone Seal? I'll help you out. The Gladiator's up there, Old King Cole's a little bit below it, and Stone Seal off to the left. And I'll put some, there you go, that should be much easier to see. Because when you go to these things, to see this trio of natural wonders, it took me 5 visits after reading the history books to be able to see them in this, what looks like a bunch of trees and some rocks. But you can find them as you look into it carefully. Here's a man looking toward the sky, right there. There's the drawing. As you continue around going towards south of Lake Tahoe, and there's an old man's face. There's a side view in the same picture. You can see a comparison. And some are easier to see than others, and that one's a pretty easy one to see if you have a drawing. The next one is an owl that's facing away from us as we continue around on a boat. And you just have to pretend you're on the steamer Tahoe, and the Captain pointing these things out to you. As we continue south, we're getting real close to Emerald Bay now, and we're actually in Emerald Bay. And this is the photograph of the Emerald Bay slide. Now the question I have is, what year did the Emerald Bay slide occur? Because the road was put in there in 1913 for the first transcontinental railroad called the Lincoln Highway, for people to go from the south shore of Lake Tahoe to the north shore and back, and they cut across a very steep portion of the mountain. And apparently engineers wouldn't allow that to occur because it's so unstable to put a road in that steep of a mountain. But this slide had occurred, and it was predicted it was going to in 1955. December 25th, 1955 is when all that rock fell off the side of in Emerald Bay. And it's taken a long time for revegetation on that area. It probably was an El Nino year that year. There's a lot of water coming in. And it was just part of the Emerald Bay Lincoln Highway, 1913. And that's where the Emerald Bay slide is. And there's another picture. You see some of the vegetation. This picture was taken in early 2000, 2005, somewhere in there. And it took almost 50 years for that much vegetation to grow back on that steep of the slide in Emerald Bay. And there's Fan Ed Island, which is in Emerald Bay. It has several names. The most popular name is Fan Ed Island. And if you look closely, you'll be able to see the tea house that's built right on top of Fan Ed Island. And in 1920, it was put there by the woman who owned most of Emerald Bay at the time. Her name was Laura A. Knight. She was the one that also built the Viking Zone. And she built a lot of things around Lake Tahoe, but that's one of them that she had. And there's Fan Ed Island, and there's a moon in the picture. And in a real easy view of the tea house. And in the summertime, when Miss Knight was up here in Tahoe, she would get in her rowboat and be rowed over to Fan Ed Island. They'd walk up to the little peak there on the island and in their tea house and have tea. That'd be part of the things that you would do if you were visiting with Miss Knight during the summertime. This here is called Maggie's Peaks. Now we don't know who Maggie is, but it's two mountains that look like quite a bit like one another. In the morning, in the wintertime. And they're about 2,725 feet apiece. And there's Maggie's Peaks during the daytime, or midday. And it's sunlight. You can see a real nice silhouette of what's known as Maggie's Peaks. And in Mount Tlack, continuing going around the lake, we're close to the south shore now. This is a picture of Mount Tlack. And Mount Tlack's well known for having a cross on the face of the mountain. And it stays there most of the year. Some drought years it goes pretty much away, but most years the cross is there. But it's difficult to see in the wintertime because there's so much snow on it. But I'll put a cross on there for you. Right there. And that's where the cross of Mount Tlack is. Let me show you a picture of it when the Mount Tlack is in the fall. And you can easily see the cross now. And that stays there most of the year. And Mount Tlack is 9,785 feet tall. And there's that moon again in our photos. as we keep track. And there's Mount Slack with very little snow on it as we go across. I had to put that in there with the PowerPoint. That's where the cross would be on Mount Slack if it had the snow on it. And this is the drought year 2004. You can actually see most of the snow is gone, and the shadows. And the reason the snow stays there all year round is because as the sun goes around the face, as the Earth rotates, it keeps the shadows most of the time in those crevices and keeps the snow cross there throughout the year. So there's Mount Slack. And there's another easy picture of seeing the face of Mount Slack with the cross on it. A very, very special mountain. And there's Mount Slack in the sunset. So let's go up to Angora Lakes, which is not far from Lake Tahoe, going past Fallen Leaf Lake. Go a little bit higher and you go up to Angora Ridge and you go into Angora Lake. And if the water is just right in level, you can see a kitty. And here's a picture of the kitty sideways. The cat faces sideways. And there's a drawing of that. And again, that has to be just right. It has to be smooth water to get that. We name mountains around Lake Tahoe is what they look like frequently. This one's called Pyramid Peak. As you're going down Highway 50, you can see a real good view of Pyramid Peak, real close to International House of Pancakes. And there's another view of Pyramid Peak, but as you can see as you continue down the road, the trees and other buildings will obscure Pyramid Peak, so you have to be in the right place to see it. And there's a close-up of Pyramid Peak, and with the snow on it. Now from the top of Pyramid Peak, if you get up that high and hike it, I'm told that you can see all the way down to the Sacramento Valley from there, so it's a good viewpoint to look back toward Lake Tahoe and then to go see how far you have to go to get to Sacramento. This one is called Lincoln's Profile, and you have to have a real good imagination of Lincoln's beard, and he has no nose. So with the help of PowerPoint, we'll put a nose on Lincoln's profile right there. And so if you think Lincoln looks similar like that, then there's again, using your imagination as we continue around the lake. Can you see the 77? Can you see the 11 in this mountain, in this picture? There's a 77 and 11 right there. Oh, there's the 11. And there's a little bit better picture of it, so you can see as the snow melts off the surface of the face of the mountain, you can see the 77 and a real easy view of the 11. And right there, can you see them? If you read in the history books, Captain Pomine described them most every time he came around, particularly in the springtime. When the snow melts, of course, you cannot see it. And the 11 is a result of a couple of avalanches that occurred there. And there's a little airplane right there. Now there's 3 lines on the south shore, and one of them is called the East Peak Line. What was the East Peak Line? A lot of people used to call it the state line. And some people called it fire break, and some people called it power line. Well, there was the power line. Power doesn't come into Lake Tahoe over that peak, East Peak, and it's not a very good fire break, as we found out a few years ago. And so it's certainly not that, but it is called East Peak, and it's real close to the what's now known, what was known as the Crescent V Fashion Center. The Crescent V, the V in Crescent V stands for Van Sickle. It was the Van Sickle Ranch, and Mr. Van Sickle at one time put a survey line, cut some trees across to make a ski resort there. But some things changed in his life and he decided not to continue with the project. So he just left the line. But that is not the state line. The state line, oh, there's the Heavenly Face off to the right. And Monument Peak is actually where the state line goes. A little bit to the right of where the gondola is. The gondola is in the state of Nevada. This is called Castle Rock, again on the south shore. Starting to go on the east side of Lake Tahoe. A lot of people think that's called Chimney Rock, and the reason they think is there's a road up there, it's called Chimney Rock Road. But it's not called Chimney Rock, it's called Castle Rock. As we continue up the east shore of Lake Tahoe from the south shore, going up Highway 50, we see a hill that's rounded on the top, and we cleverly named this one Round Hill. But I have a question. What was Round Hill called before it was called Round Hill? Well, it was actually called Round Mound. But what was it called before it was called Round Mound? And it was called Folsom Mound. A man named Mr. Folsom bought that area, and he took the trees off of it back. And there's a lot of logging going on in the South Shore here. And this is called Cave Rock. Most everybody who's been to Lake Tahoe has seen it or passed through it, the tunnels of Cave Rock. The first tunnel that was completed was in 1931. Before that tunnel was in there in 1931, they used to go, in 1961, they used to go on the outside of Cave Rock. But by 1931 they put a hole through it, where the cave was, and now called Tunnel Rock, I guess. The second tunnel was completed in 1957, and that's the one that you go eastbound in. That's the new tunnel. The old tunnel was put there in 31. And at this point you can see what's known as Lady of the Lake. If you're on Captain Pomeen's boat, the steamer Tahoe, going around Lake Tahoe, and most every other boat that came around this area, they would point out the Lady of the Lake. The camera is facing toward the south shore. You have to be on the north side to see it very well, and the south shore. And if you can see where the eyes are, and the nose, and the mouth, the lady's looking into the lake. But as you guys can see, there are some stacked rocks, very, very evenly stacked rocks. And the reason those are there is that was the old road. That was the road that went on the outside. There was a trestle there of some wood that connected those rocks to, like a little bridge across there. And that's what you did from 1861 until the early 1930s. You had to go on the outside. Very, very precarious. And if you step back from Cave Rock a little bit on the north looking south, you can see the Lady of the Lake, but you can also see a gorilla profile. But you have to back away just a little bit to see that profile. There we go. And there's a rock climber on the top of it in this picture. It's not recommended to be climbing the rock, but it is possible. And this is stepping back from Cave Rock, being able to see the profile of the gorilla and the old road that went on the outside of Cave Rock. And we'll go a little bit further. We get into, the boat continues through to Glenbrook, and this was one of the monuments. You can see this in many history books, what is known as Shakespeare's Rock. People would come from a long ways throughout the world to see Shakespeare's Rock. And we're in Glenbrook, and we're looking south from Glenbrook, and we're looking at this big rock. And when I first looked at it, it was difficult for me to see Shakespeare. But let me give you a close-up view of it. Right there, that's where you have to look with that white circle to see Shakespeare. That's the part of Shakespeare in Shakespeare's Rock. And I'll give you a close-up view. Hopefully that looks like Shakespeare. You can see his bald forehead and the beard and the eyes and the nose. And again, some people have to use their intuitive capacity to see this, but it's there. So if that drawing looks a little bit like Shakespeare to you, that's a little bit of what Shakespeare Rock looks like. Difficult to see for some, but people come from a long ways away to see Shakespeare's Rock. And here's another picture of it, a little bit different camera angle. And there's Shakespeare. The nose is right in front of the tree. And it's still there. They used to paint that in the early 1900s, used to whitewash it until someone who was whitewashing it to make it easier to see had fallen and hurt himself. But as we go over Spooner Summit toward Carson City on Highway 50, we get to see Frog Rock. And a lot of people have seen it. Once you recognize this landmark and it's pointed out to you, it remains in your sighting every time you go down. It's Borgas at the top of the hill, right there. And that's what we call that Frog Rock, and it's a fun thing to show kids. If you show youngsters, every time you go to that area, the youngster will point out Frog Rock to you. And that's what Frog Rock looks like. As we get back into Lake Tahoe going toward Incline Village, we see something that we call bear claw. And you can see 4 stripes going down the side of the mountain, as if a great big bear came and just scratched the claws right into the side of the mountain. Right there. That actually was put there due to leakage of the water system that went from Marlette Lake to Hobart Lake on the lake side of Tahoe. The water eventually went toward Incline Village. At Incline Village they put a 4,500 foot long tunnel, almost a mile tunnel, through the granite to get the in a flume to get the water to Hobart Lake. And from Hobart Lake they had a pipe, and it's called an inverted siphon, that went from Hobart Lake all the way to Virginia City, because Hobart Lake is a little bit higher than Virginia City, and you put it through a pipe and it will drain into Virginia City, as the siphoning hose would drain water to a lower level. And that still works today. Virginia City still gets its water from Hobart Lake, and they have 3 pipes now. But and this doesn't work anymore. This from Marlette Lake to Hobart Lake, as far as the flume trail goes. What they do now is, if there's a drought in Carson City or Virginia City, they'll pump water out of Marlette Lake via hydraulic pumps with diesel engines, and that gets the water over the side if they need it from Marlette Lake. But as the water was flowing, it leaked in 4 places, and it leaked in those 4 places right there, and that's called bear claw. And it went from Marlette Lake to Incline Village. That's where the flume went, and you can see where the bear claw is, and that was for the Virginia City mines. And if we're on the south shore looking at the north shore, you can see the Liberty Bell. It's easily distinguished when there's snow on it. It's thought to be a result of a fire in North Shore, and I'll give you a close-up view of the Liberty Bell. As you can see it, that's the drawing of the Liberty Bell. And as we get a little bit closer, there you go. That's one of the natural wonders in Lake Tahoe. As we go from Tahoe City toward Truckee, just on the other side of Squaw Valley, you can see the side view of Indian Chief. And you have to use your imagination on this. You can see the nose and maybe the forehead of the Indian. But if you go in that area, that's what they call that, Indian Chief. And it's about half a mile north of the Squaw Valley entrance. And there you go. Nice view of the Indian. And this is called Fanny Bridge. And that might not be a natural wonder of sorts, but it's a place where a lot of people stop to see fish. You can see, that's what those people are looking at, looking over the bridge, and they call it Fanny Bridge, of course, because they're looking at fish, but you are looking at someone's fanny. And I've always thought this is a real good spot to end the Tahoe History program on Tahoe Natural Wonders. My name is David Borgas. I want to thank you for sharing Tahoe history with me.